If you have already watched the video on e-receipts, you'll find that much of the next couple of minutes are the same, and that's because the setup process is the same. I apologize for repeating here if you've already heard it, but it's here for those who are starting with this video about e-tax statements. E-tax statements are part of a set of emailed statements that Denari calls e-correspondence. E-correspondence is considered an add-on module, and there is a charge for emails sent through e-correspondence. You can discuss the fee with our admin office. It requires that a credit card is on file in Denari, and the fees will be charged on a monthly basis. You can set up the credit card on file that you'll be using by clicking on the Self-Service tab just off your screen here, and then click on Credit Card on File. Click the Add Edit button to add your card and hit Save. Fill in the billing contact information below and you're ready to go. You may already have a card on file, and if so, you won't need to do anything further here. The next step in the process is to set up an e-statement template. It is a separate template from your printed tax statement template, although it can look similar. Synergy staff will work with you to set up your template. It is important to remember that the e-tax statement is an emailed statement that the donor will receive in their email and may or may not print out. It is not a printed statement that will be emailed as an attachment. Since the donor is responsible to print out the email, the look of the statement will depend on their ability to print from their email program. Therefore, it's a good idea to keep the layout simple. The goal is to provide them with a tax statement and a thank you message. Denari determines which donors will get printed or emailed statements based on that donor's preference, and that can be selected by you internally, or the donor can make that selection through their online community account. So the next step is to set up the preferences for each donor, but first you must decide what your philosophy will be toward tax statements. One option is to decide that all donors with an email address will get e-tax statements whether they state that as their preference or not. Or you could decide that all donors will get printed statements unless they tell you differently. We can set the global setting for either of these policies when setting up your template, and it can be changed later if needed. If no preference is set for a donor, Denari will default to the global setting. Let's assume now that all of your donors will get printed statements unless they tell you they want the emailed version. Once you know their preference, you're ready to set them up, and it's fairly simple. Go to the Donors tab, Name List Management, and select the donor's name record. From there, go to the Other Pages drop-down field and choose e-correspondence emails. If they don't already have an email address here, click Add New. I'll just click on the one that's already here. Fill in the email address field and status. New here simply means that this email address has never been used by Denari to send an email. Once that happens, it will change to active. The last thing you need to do here is hit the Make Primary button at the top of the page. This will cause the email address to be the one that Denari uses for statements from now on. We don't see the primary button here because this name record already has a primary email address. Click Save to finish the process. Now we can set the preference by clicking the power bar icon on the right, and then Email or e-correspondence preferences slightly off your screen. Select the email that you want to use and then the delivery method. From now on, Denari will not produce a printed statement when you run tax statements, and of course remember to hit Save. To run e-tax statements, go to the e-correspondence tab, and in the admin section select eEOY statements, EOY standing for end of year. Running e-tax statements uses the same process as printed statements. First, enter something in the Must Have Given At Least field. Some organizations only send statements to those donors who have given more than some amount. If you want to send to all of your donors, enter a 1 here. Next, enter a beginning and ending date range. The tax statements will show the gifts that are in that date range. The starting and ending donor account number fields are optional and are only used when sending to selected donors, usually just one donor. If you need to send a statement to just one donor, put that donor's account number in both the starting and ending date fields. The only donors in field refers to a name segment that you may have created earlier. It allows you to limit who will get tax statements based on the filters you select in the name segment, and it's optional. If you want to send to all donors who have made donations, you can leave this field blank. If you need help with your name segment, you can view the videos found on the video menu page. And finally, you can add a letter to the statement. You will have created that earlier in the Gifts tab /letters, and Denari will display that letter at the top of the statement. Once the form is filled out, click the Submit eEOY Request button at the top of the page. At this point, Denari does not begin sending emails. It only creates the job that will be waiting for your approval. The reason for the approval process is to give you a chance to review the statements before they are sent. To approve them, you'll go to the eCorrespondence tab, and at the bottom of the page you'll find the jobs that are waiting for approval. Now here it shows e-receipt jobs, but tax statement jobs will look exactly the same. Under the View column, you'll find the link that says View Job. Click that to open the job and review the statements. Once you're satisfied that the job is ready to go, you can click anywhere in that row to open the approval form. Simply enter the approval code and click the Approve Job button at the top of the page. The emails are now being sent and there's no going back. They cannot be retrieved at this point. So where do you get the approval code? We'll go to the eCorrespondence tab, eCorrespondence Control Record, and in the Authorization Information section you find a link that says Change Authorization Code. Click that, enter the new code or password, and click the Change Password button. And you only need to set this approval code up one time. Sometimes there's a problem with an email address and those emails may bounce. When that happens, you will usually get an email telling you that your email to a specific person has been returned or bounced. Sometimes though, you may not get the bounce notification email. So how do you know when email has bounced and who are the donors? E-tax statements are a little different from the other e-statement features in that they have a specific report. Let's go to the eCorrespondence tab, and in that admin section we find a report called eEOY Statements That Bounced This Year. Running this report will give you an Excel list of those emails that have bounced and who the donors are. You can contact the donors to correct their email address or send printed statements. Let's click again on the eCorrespondence tab and then click Smart Email Dashboard. Here you see a list of jobs that are awaiting approval in the upper left box. You can run them from here just as you did from the eCorrespondence page. It does the same thing. Below that you find the Recent Jobs box, and I have a better sample for you here. Notice the columns Sent On, Sent Bounces, and Resend Bounces. When there's a job listed there, you'll find a number in that field that shows you how many bounces there were from that job. Click on the link to that job to see a report showing other information about the job, and it looks something like this. Click on the number in the bounce field, and Denari will run another report showing the donors whose statements have bounced. And it looks like this, with information extending out to the right, giving you the phone number, address, etc. And of course you can click on the numbers in the other fields for information related to those fields as well. Back in the Smart Email Dashboard, you also have a send link that appears when there are bounces. Clicking that will resend that statement. Of course, depending on the original problem that caused it to bounce, it may bounce again unless you've corrected it. This concludes this video on eEnd of year tax statements. If you have any questions, please contact tech support through the support button at the top of the Denari page.